am excited about this message series. This is the final part of a message series that we're calling Love Isn't Blind. And this is based on, it's actually in contrast to the popular Netflix series called Love is Blind, where you have couples that get together and they do dating inside of pods. They can't see each other, they can only hear each other's voices, and they make all types of promises, and they get to know one another through these pods, and they only see each other after they propose. And the question is whether or not love is blind. If love is blind, then that means that you can fall in love with someone that you've never seen before. And I do believe that we place too much emphasis on the physical, but I don't believe that love is blind. I believe that love is patient. I believe that love is kind. I believe that love is gentle. I believe that love doesn't boast. I believe that love doesn't brag. And so you can actually see these things. These are things that you can see, that love is an action word, but we do place way too much emphasis on the physical. And so if you've been following along throughout this message series, the entire message series is based on this question right here. Are you becoming the right person for the right person? Are you becoming the right person for the right person? Because I know when it comes to dating, we got this mindset that if I could just find Mr. Right, if I could just find Mrs. Right, then everything will be all right. But I can tell you this from experience, if you're not all right and you run into Mr. Right, if you're not all right and you run into Mrs. Right, Mr. or Mrs. Right is not going to be interested in you. In fact, Mr. or Mrs. Right might be turned off by you. And so what we should be focusing on, if you're single, what you should be focusing on is becoming the right person for the right person, because as you become better, you attract better. And so a lot of people, when they look at marriage, they're kind of turned off by marriage because a lot of times we present a marriage that is boring, right? And oftentimes from the outside looking in, marriage does look boring, but on the inside, when marriage is done right, marriage is awesome. And I'll be honest with you. I'd rather have a boring marriage than a marriage that's full of drama. I'm telling you, drama keeps you up at night. Drama has you focusing on it when you need to be productive. It's hard to be productive when you have a lot of drama in your life. And so I'll choose a boring marriage over a drama-filled marriage any day. But the truth of the matter is, marriage is awesome when it is done right. And so in this series, Love is Blind, they date each other, they can't see each other, they propose to one another, then they see each other, and then they go on what looks like a honeymoon before they get married. And now they're getting closer to one another, and they're seeing if there is physical chemistry, because they have this chemistry when they can't see each other, but they want to see whether or not there's physical chemistry. And then they start preparing for the wedding. And they put a lot of money into the wedding, just like we do in regular weddings. We put a lot of money into the wedding. They put the nice clothes on. They go out and they go dress shopping. They go out and look for the suits and everything, just preparing for the wedding. And then they stand on the altar and they look one another in the face and they exchange these vows. And at the end of exchanging these vows, whoever's performing the wedding asks them whether or not they do. And this is the hard part about the show. I have a hard time with this part because some of them actually make the decision whether or not they're going to get married right there on the altar. And some people say, I don't. And it's painful to watch. But some people say they do. Just like in weddings that we've been to, they say that they do, but they're not prepared to do. They say that they do, and then they embark on a life together, and then they start to discover one another, and they start to see that this person kind of rubs me the wrong way, that this person doesn't always give me my way, that this person has their desires and this person has their perspectives, and it doesn't always line up with my perspective, and now the snoring starts to get on my nerves. Before, when it was euphoria, I didn't pay attention to the fact that you chew with your mouth open. And I can't stand when people chew with their mouth open. And I didn't realize that you breathe so loud. Why do you got to breathe so loud? Why are you so touchy-feely? I didn't realize you were that touchy-feely. Can you just go in the other room? You're starting to get on my nerves. But they said, I do on the altar. And many of them had great intentions when they said that they do. They made a promise. They looked them in their eyes and they made a promise that I will be with you in the good times and the bad times, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. But people make promises that they're not prepared to keep. And the reason for this is because people often overlook this principle. Promises are no substitute for preparation. You can promise until you turn blue in the face, but if you're not prepared, you're not going to keep that promise. This is true in every arena of life. I can promise you that if we get into a boxing match, that I'm going to knock you out. But if I don't prepare to knock you out, I'm not going to win that fight. I can promise you that I'm going to win this long distance race, but if I don't prepare to win that race, I'm not going to win that race. It's the same with relationships. People believe that they can promise their way beyond their lack. You know that you're not right. And you're not going to magically become right when you say, I do. You're not going to magically become right when you make those vows. If you don't prepare, you're not going to keep that promise. So just because you say I do doesn't mean that you're able to do. It only makes you accountable. And when you're accountable to do something that you're not capable of doing, it makes you miserable. A lot of people are locked into marriages, and they're miserable because they know what they're accountable to do, but they're just not capable of pulling it off. And so commitments that we make before marriage are meaningless if we're not prepared to do this. Another way of saying it is, without preparation, commitment is overrated. If you commit to something that you're not prepared to do, your commitments are worthless. Those words are worthless. You have to prepare yourself. We can't fall for the okie doke. People can package it up and make it sound good, but if they're not prepared, it's worthless. And single people, if you don't listen to me, you're going to make promises, and your promises will be overwritten by your lack of preparation. Or you're going to allow yourself to fall for someone who talks a good one, but they really can't walk the walk. It's not about the words. People don't automatically change because they say I do. They don't automatically change because of vows. And so we cannot ignore the red flags. People are not going to keep those promises if they are not prepared to keep those promises. And so if you're single, now is the time to prepare to commit. You got to start doing it now. You don't wait until you start dating. You start doing it now. And so as you prepare yourself to become the right person, you will be able to better recognize the right person. And if they're not the right person, you won't be interested in them. Now, there's an Old Testament passage in the book of Proverbs written by Solomon, who was the wisest man next to Jesus to ever live. And he really hones in on this dynamic that, we can say one thing, but it's really about what we do. And I think this is a verse that everybody should memorize. And I believe that everybody should kind of frame their lives around this verse. And I believe that if you do this, if you would live out this verse right here, it will help you to prepare yourself to commit, to prepare yourself to become the right person. And here's what Solomon says. He says, the wisdom of the prudent. Prudent is just another word for wise, a wise person. The wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways. Not their words, but to give thought to their ways. See, a prudent person understands that all of life is connected. That I'm where I am today because of decisions that I made yesterday. And I'm going to be where I'm going to be tomorrow because of decisions that I make today. He says the prudent person gives thoughts to their ways. Why? Because ways are behaviors. Ways are patterns. Ways are habits. Ways are trends. Ways are what makes us predictable. Ways are what helps us to know what our parents are going to say before they even say it. Ways are what helps us to predict people's response even before we make the statement, even before we ask the question. And so what Solomon is saying is that wise people pay attention to their ways because their ways are what is determining their destination. Their ways are what is determining their direction, that we need to stop talking and be about our ways. Pay attention to our patterns. Everybody has ways. Wise people pay attention to their ways. But then he contrasts that. He says, but the folly of the fools is deception. The folly of the fool is deception, that fools, they don't believe that all of life is connected. They believe that life is a series of isolated events. So what, I had a stealing problem yesterday. I don't steal anymore today. So what, I was deceptive yesterday. That was yesterday. Yesterday was a yesterday. Today is today. Tomorrow is tomorrow. Why are you arresting me for something that I did yesterday? That was yesterday. That's how fools live. Fools think that life is a series of isolated events. And that's why when things happen to them, when things fall apart in their lives, they become victims because they're not connecting the dots. It's because of the way you were living yesterday that has caused you to be in the situation that you're in today. He says it a different way, but he's more direct. He says, the simple believe anything. When you're in love, you believe anything. Euphoria will have you thinking just because both of y'all got a red shirt on, that it was meant to be. So what, he has a red shirt on. Your parents want to know, does he have a job? Is he responsible? You're looking at all these little cute things that just confirms that you and him are supposed to be together, and you're ignoring all of the red flags. He's living one way, he's talking another way, and you're just believing him because of euphoria. You can't see it. He doesn't even brush his teeth. But you're in love. The simple believe anything. But the prudent give thought to their steps. Why? Because steps determine direction. Steps determine destination. If I trace my steps, I can see what got me in the situation that I'm in. So steps are more valid than words. Words are meaningless. We need to pay attention to steps. In other words, the path you choose will trump the commitments you make. The path that you choose, it doesn't matter what you commit to, doesn't matter the vows, the path that you choose will trump the commitment that you make. In one of the episodes of Love is Blind, it was a couple that I was just sure about, because I kind of got into this show. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of addicted to this show a little bit, and I'm like kind of cheering for certain couples. Like, I believe they can make it. And it was one couple that I was just like really cheering for them to make it. I want to see them make it because I really liked her. She kind of reminded me of a daughter, right? I don't want to see her get hurt. And he speaks so well. His name was Jared, if you guys remember season 2, Jared and Iyanna. I mean, he speaks so well, and she's so cute. She's real cute, so cute. I'm like, they're going to make it. I mean, he's just saying all the right things. But this dude gets married, and he's still coming in the house at 4 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing out at 4 o'clock in the morning? I just can't figure out for the life of me what a person could be doing at 4 o'clock in the morning. If you're not working, you're a weirdo if you're out at 4 o'clock in the morning. I can't think of nobody but weirdos being out at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm just being honest with you, unless you're working. Some people work graveyard shifts, that's different. But if you're just out at 4 o'clock in the morning, and so he told her about this before they got married. He told her that he had this issue before they got married, but he promised her that he was going to make some changes. But you know what trumped his promises? His steps. 10 o'clock, he got further and further away from the house. He's stepping further and further away from the house. 11 o'clock, he's stepping further and further away from the house. But he made a promise. He promised. But 3 o'clock in the morning, he still wasn't there. 3:30, he still wasn't there. 4 o'clock in the morning, you come running your tired butt in the house. The path he chose trumped his commitment. We can make commitments all day long, but if we're not prepared to keep those commitments, we will not keep those commitments. Your past actions, your past steps, your past ways is a better indicator of your future than your promises. The person that you're looking at that you possibly want to be with, their past ways is a better indicator of their future than their promises. Pay attention to your ways, pay attention to your steps, pay attention to their ways, pay attention to their steps. Sometimes, most of the time, oftentimes, the words does not match with the steps. And so if you're single, you need to be preparing yourself to keep your commitments. And a great example of this is Ruth. In the book of Ruth, the story is primarily centered around 3 women. Naomi has 2 daughter-in-laws, and her daughter-in-laws become widows with her because she loses her husband and they lose their husbands. And so now they're all widows. And men in those days were more than someone that you would just pose together for a flick that you can put on Instagram and talk about. Dead. Your husbands are dead. I can't do anything for you. I need to figure out how to take care of myself. And so I care about you 2 ladies. And so here's what I'm urging you to do. Go back to your hometown and get you another husband. You're still young. Go back to your hometown and get you another husband. Orpah says, okay, I love you. See ya. She took that lifeline. She says, I'm out of here. But here's Ruth's response. Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. And your God will be my God. What Ruth is doing is she's committing to someone greater than her. She's preparing herself. Are you guys with me? As you get better, you attract better. If you can't commit to someone greater than you, if you can't commit to a cause greater than you, you're not ready for a serious, committed relationship. She says, your God will be my God. Look at this further commitment. She says, where you die, I will die. And there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. You see, it was Ruth's character that caused her to make a commitment to a cause that was greater than her. Character is important. You don't want to get serious with a person who has bad character. Her character caused her to make a commitment to a cause greater than her, and it led her to Boaz's field. Now watch this. By the time you get to Ruth and Boaz connecting, they're in chapter 2 of Ruth. Ruth only has 4 chapters. So half of the 4 chapters, she hasn't even met her Mr. Right. But it wasn't wasted time, because preparation time is never wasted time. And so we get to chapter 2, and Boaz is taking a notice of Ruth. Verse 4, it says, "Who does that young woman belong to?" Now, we glamorize these stories, right? Because we probably picture Ruth all dolled up with her eyelashes done. And she got on these nice, attractive clothes. But Ruth is out in the field working. She's out in the field tending to her business. And Boaz doesn't have on Jordans and a big old Gucci belt. Boaz is attending to his business too. We've been looking at the wrong things. We kind of get caught up in the physical. We kind of get caught up in the appearance. We kind of get caught up in the clothes that they're wearing, the car that they drive. But when Boaz saw Ruth, he saw a woman who was responsible. That's what attracted him to her, that she was responsible. Oftentimes, the very thing that attracts us to another person is their irresponsibility. Why do you want to marry somebody that don't know how to handle money, that just blows money, that just wastes money, that just wastes time? He saw her responsibility. Ruth showed commitment and character. She wasn't all dolled up when Boaz saw her. She wasn't seeking attention. She was about her business. Ladies, are you preparing yourself for attention or to be respected? See, oftentimes these two conflict, because you can prepare yourself for attention. Cleavage showing, part of your butt showing. But is he going to respect you? He might want to sleep with you, but does he respect you? Let me hurry up. The overseer replied, "She is the Moabite who came back from Moab with Naomi." Watch her reputation. She said, "Please, let me glean and gather among the sheaves behind the harvesters." She came into the field, look at her action, and has remained here from morning till now, except for a short rest in the shelter. Hardworking, committed woman. Her children will rise and call her blessed. Not because of her words, but because of her ways. Not because of her words, but because of her steps. Up to this point, Boaz has said nothing to Ruth. But her character, the way she carries herself, has attracted him to her. They're not in the club. They're not at a pool party. They're out in the field. So Boaz said to Ruth, my daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Pay attention to this. So good. Watch the field where the men are harvesting, and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you. And whenever you are thirsty, go and drink a drink from the water jars the men have filled. So I wish I had time to really unfold this, but here's what Boaz is saying that he's willing to offer to and ready to offer to Ruth. He's ready to offer her a place, protection, and provision. A place, protection, and provision. Men, we got to step it up. We got to step it up. When it comes to us and women, we have to get to a place where we can offer them a place, protection, and provision. Women, stop listening to the words. Make sure that before you get serious, he can offer you a place, protection, and provision. Because this is going to prove to be very valuable in the long run. This is going to prove to be very valuable when the storm comes. Not if the storm comes, but when the storm comes. This is going to be proven to be very valuable when your relationship is tested. Not if it's tested, but when it's tested. He offers her a place, protection, and provision. If you're still attached to your mother, you're not in a position to offer her a place. If you're a coward, you're not in a position to protect her. If you're lazy and you have no sense of direction, you're not in a position to offer her any provision. I know in society they're pushing women go out and work, and I believe because of how expensive things are today, it's necessary. But God's ideal, his original ideal was for men to provide a place, protection, and provision. The further we get away from this, the worse we get as a society. He says, I've been told all about what you have done, her reputation. I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. How you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. Now, women, this is how you want a man to feel about you. This is how you want a man to visualize your future. He says, may the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord. You want a man that wants this for you. The God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. And so I want to close out with this because our time is well spent. I just want to give you guys some things that you need to do, or some things that you need to be doing, some very practical things that you need to be doing to prepare yourself for the right person, because it is preparation season. They call this cuffing season. From October through March, this is cuffing season. It's really cuffing season for women that get those tax returns, because they start calling you about this time of the year. Because they know you got about 3 or 4 kids and you're going to get a nice fat return. Cuffing season. But I'm telling you, this is preparation season. So I want to give you guys some things that you can do to prepare yourself for the right person. The first one is the most difficult, and that is you need to address your unresolved childhood issues. These things right here need to be addressed. I'm telling you, we overlook these things. We think they're not that big of a deal because, we've kind of, we still send our mother flowers and all of that stuff, and we're just at least cordial with our father. But I'm telling you, if you have unresolved childhood issues, this stuff is going to leak into your relationship, and you're not going to even connect the dots. You're not going to even think it has anything to do with your childhood issues. See, this is you. And then you have your parents. But between you and your parents is all the drama with you and your parents. Your dad left, he divorced your mom, your dad was a deadbeat, your mom was emotionally uninvolved. I mean, she wasn't in your life, all of that drama, and it really hurt. Definitely don't want to be insensitive about what you went through. But what happens is, if you don't address that, you put your spouse right there between you and the drama with your parents. And he's trying to figure out, what did I do? I just said I wanted to arrive a little early. And you're going off on him and you're spazzing on him. But it's because you've never resolved the issues with your parents. You have to address those issues. If you don't, it's going to seep into your relationship and it's going to wreak havoc. And everything that your father wasn't to you, you're going to blame him. Everything your mother wasn't to you, you're going to blame her. And you're not going to even be aware of the fact that you are doing it. Here's what the professionals say. If you attempt to build intimacy with a person before you've done the work of becoming a whole and healthy person, every relationship will be an attempt to complete the whole in your heart. And so you got to deal with those unresolved issues with your parents. You got to break bread. Number two, second thing is, don't carry yourself. This is more so for the women. Don't carry yourself like a commodity, and don't put up with being treated like one. When you carry yourself like a commodity, when you're dating, guess what's going to happen when you get married? He's going to treat you like a commodity. If you carry yourself like a slut, he's going to treat you like a slut. You cannot carry yourself like a commodity and expect for him to treat you like a lady. What you do to attract him, you'll have to keep doing it to keep him. And as good as you look right now, if you attracted him with your body, listen to me, as good as you look right now, I'm talking about even if you go to the gym every day, you work out every day, as good as you look right now, you're not going to always look that good. So don't carry yourself like a commodity. Next is, you need to become financially responsible. You need to be financially responsible before you make that commitment to be in a committed relationship. You're getting ready to get married, because if you're financially irresponsible as a single person, you're going to bring that with you into your marriage. And then you need to break your bad habits. Your drinking habits, your drug habits, your porn habits, your gambling habits. You need to break all of those habits. Here's what happens. I guarantee you this. If a person doesn't break those habits and they bring those habits with them into the relationship, 6 or 7 months down the line, they're going to be blaming you. That's how it works. Because it's always easier to blame people than to take responsibility. And so you need to deal with your bad habits. And then you need to develop discipline and self-control. Imagine the insecurity that swirls around your mind when you're dating someone who lacks discipline and self-control. When you're dating someone and married to someone that is disciplined and they have self-control, you're not worried about them cheating on you.
Yeah, that's right.
But this starts before you get married, right? If you can't control yourself while you're dating, what makes you think you're going to control yourself when you get married? If you say, I'm not going to have sex before I get married, and we're not going to have sex before we get married, they say that often on Love is Blind, and you give in to it, that's a lack of self-control. And remember, it's not the words, it's the ways. It's not the words, it's the steps. If you had self-control issues before marriage, you'll carry those self-control issues with you into marriage. And then the last one is you need to get involved in a local church. Not just attend, but you need to be involved in a local church, because when you're involved with a local church, you're committed to a cause that's bigger than you. And remember, that was part of Ruth's preparation. She was committed to a cause that was bigger than her, and that's what caused her to attract her Boaz. Some of you are just casual attenders. You're not involved. Some of you go from church to church because you're not getting what you want from the church, but you're not giving anything to the church. That's a mentality. That's a mindset, and you carry that mentality and that mindset with you into your marriage. Wouldn't it be nice, and I want to see this, I would love to see this, and I don't believe people should come to church to look for anybody. I discourage that, but I want to see marriages coming as a result of this ministry, two people who are faithful to getting better, faithful to serving the Lord, and all of a sudden their paths cross. And you see her out in the field working and serving, and you see him willing and ready to provide you with a place, with protection and provision, and you guys are attracted to one another, and you guys end up married. I want to see some testimonies like that. I would love to see that. But you need to be involved in a local church, not for what you can get, but for what you can give. Here's how the story ends. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. When he made love to her, after she became his wife, when he made love to her, the Lord enabled her to conceive. There's so much that hangs in the balance of this right here, because this is the line of Jesus Christ. Christ came to this through this lineage right here. You have no idea what hangs in the balance of you doing things God's way. The Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. The woman said to Naomi, "Praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer." Christ is the Redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age, for your daughter-in-law who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons has given birth to him. She gives the baby to her mother-in-law, and then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for him. The women living there said, "Naomi has a son," and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, who was the father of who? King David. God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly more than we can ask or imagine if we would only do things His way. Can you imagine where we would be as a society if we did things His way? Can you imagine all of the divorces that we could have avoided if we would have just did His things His way? All of the heartbreak, all of the pain, all of the diseases, all of the unwanted pregnancies, if we would have just did it His way. It's preparation season. Not hawking season, not hunting season, but preparation season. You need to prepare yourself to become the right one so that you can attract the right one.